I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you. Yeah. Oh, hey. Just working with some action figures here. Anyway, welcome to Joe's Multiverse. I'm Joe, and today the universe that we're going to be visiting is the DC Multiverse, and I wanted to take a look at some figures from the old and the new. Now, back in the day, we used to get the DC Multiverse in the actual 6-inch scale, but since Todd McFarlane has taken over, the DC Multiverse has, well, sort of expanded and shrunk. And what I mean by that is they've expanded in size and how cool, and probably even though it's a McFarlane, the articulation is for the most part better. Not as good as we'd like, but that's another story. The way that it shrunk, though, is it's really focused on Batman right now, but that's cool, probably not forever. But I wanted to take a look at some of the old school ones versus these new ones that we've been getting. And I want to start off, well, why don't we go with Batman? Now, this is definitely one of my favorite Batman figures, and it's probably my favorite Batman figure from this line of the old school ones, and it's from The Dark Knight Returns. If you've seen that animated movie, if you read the comic books that came out, I think back in the mid-'80s, I think, this is the Batman from that story. And I remember getting him, I think it was back in 2016. And I think I bought him at Walmart, and he rode around with me in my vehicle for a long time. I just love this. And since we're talking about Todd McFarlane, I'm going to use this original, the gold label, as an example. Now, this isn't from any particular storyline because it's a Todd McFarlane original, but you can tell the difference between these two. The size, the sculpt, and even though it's lacking in some different areas with articulation, it's a lot better articulated with this than this. It has double jointed elbows and knees, all the joints and everything, and it's got just so much cool stuff on it. Now, this is definitely an improvement. Now, this is more classic in what we know and love and from a story that changed the game, but there's definitely a big difference here. Another one, of course, would be Superman. Now, from that same storyline with the Batman Dark Knight Returns, we have the Superman from that story. And then we have one of Todd McFarlane's Superman. Now, they might look similar because same colors, it's Superman, but the size is different. You get this cool stand, and I don't know, it's a toss-up of what your favorite would be. Now, maybe you only collected these and haven't started collecting the Todd McFarlanes because you're not interested in them, or you don't like McFarlane for whatever reason, or maybe you never did collect these and you're only collecting this. Or maybe you don't collect any of these and you're just watching this because, who knows? But I like them both. I wasn't the biggest fan of this version because I don't like the way they portrayed him in that storyline. And I'm more familiar with the animated movie, but I had to have the figure, and I got a box set of the four main characters from that animated series. That is very cool. I should have grabbed that, but we're here to discuss the difference between these, and there's quite the difference. And this is the one that I display right out here in the living room on my shelf with all my newer figures, and this guy is on the DC Multiverse shelf in my bedroom along with the other ones like it. But both very cool, but it depends on what your preference is. And then another legendary hero. This isn't from the old school DC Multiverse. I always forget the name of the line that this came from, but this was always my favorite. But here is the new version with McFarlane, and you can tell that there's a difference. He is really in a fixed position. You can't get him in quite the running pose as this guy, but then again, he's kind of designed to be more in this pose for the long term, I guess you'd say. And if you want to take a look at more of the old school DC Multiverse Flash, this isn't this Flash, but he is a Flash, but you can tell the size comparison, and he's crouched down, he's going for a run, and this one's standing straight up, and they're around the same size. But this is the 7-inch variety. But a big difference, the articulation on these sucks. It's really not good, especially when you get used to the toes that pivot, and the way that the ankles and the ball joints, and just the dynamic posing you can put some of these in. Here's another one. This is top 3 for me. Now this is the Batman Who Laughs Tyrant Wings, and if I understand it, he is like the Hawkman version of the Batman Who Laughs. Here's the old school Hawkman. I just did an unboxing of a bunch of these if you want to check that out, or else maybe you've seen it, so you'd recognize him from that. But I'm a sucker for wings, but of course this is just a much better figure. But you might like this character a lot more and have no connection with this, or vice versa. I like them both. I have a connection with both. I've known who this is a lot longer because he's been around forever, and the character has too. But this right here, this is one of the centerpieces of my McFarlane DC Multiverse. Just love him. I could do a whole video on this figure, and actually I did, so check that review out if you haven't already. And then here's another one. This is probably one of my top 3 too. So who would be the top 3? The Batman Who Laughs with Tyrant Wings, the Red Hood. I'm not sure about the third one. Maybe I should do a video about it. But anyway, here's the old school DC Multiverse, and I haven't taken it out of the box, but I will on a future video. So make sure you go and watch all of them. Anyway, this is very cool, and I kind of thought about taking that head out and putting it on here, but I'm not sure. Maybe it would be big enough, and somebody probably has, but I really like this. I've had this for a long time. I think I probably found it at Target or Walmart, I'm not sure, but this is a very cool Red Hood figure, but it doesn't compare to this new one that we have. Now, if you have this figure, you might have bought it in the single pack, or you got it in the 2-pack with Nightwing, but except for a little bit of articulation issue, this is awesome. If you're into DC and you're into the McFarlanes, got to get your hands on one of these. This is too cool, but there is a big difference between the two. And then last but not least, I wanted to compare 2 of the Build-A-Figure type figures from the DC Multiverse. So far, the new Todd McFarlane line has been winning the race, and both lines have done, the old school and the new have done Build-A-Figure, but this is probably a toss-up. I mean, they've both done this very, very well. I don't know. I'd be hard-pressed. I think if I could only keep one, and not only because I spent so much darn money on the missing piece that I needed to get, let's get his mouth open, I'd have to go with the King Shark here. He is too awesome. But Merciless is quite awesome too. So let me know if you have either of these figures. And yeah, King Shark definitely wins. And if you look on the back of the older Red Hood here, this was part of I believe it was a Collect and Connect Killer Croc. Now, I never got any of the other figures. Who is this? GDX11? I don't know who that is. Oh, wait a minute. I'm pretty sure that's KGB's. I'm reading the code on there. All right, it's kind of late. Forgive me. And then, what is that? Katana, or whatever the heck her name is, and Alfred, and then a weird-looking Batman, and Elite Legends favorite, Robin. I think that's Red Robin, because there's 2 R's on there. Not too familiar with him. There's so many Robins. But I never got any of those other ones. But boy, I'd love to get my hands on that Killer Croc, but I'm pretty sure buying him would be pretty expensive. So I don't know, maybe one day, but nevertheless, he'd be a cool Build-A-Figure. Collect to Connect, but that's probably the only way that this line could have a dog in the fight, for a lack of a better term. But so let me know what you think of these two different lines and versions of the DC Multiverse. And all right, I'll give you my number 3. It's got to be the death metal Batman. Most definitely. Definitely my favorite Batman. I mean, he's just too cool. And sitting on that bike, you can't beat it. Anyway, let me know what you think down in the comments. And the next time we enter the DC Multiverse in Joe's Multiverse, I'll see you later.